No homework. I was thinking, by the way, of next week's Mishnah. You want to do the Mishnah about being Dan L'Kaf Zechus?
Yeah.
Because I think earlier in the year I mentioned it in passing, and like you guys were asking questions about it. So let's try to do that. Okay. All right. So review what we did yesterday. So what was the Rambam's main position on listening to on the people who object to listening to Arabic songs at parties?
Doesn't matter what language it's in. Like, and if it's in a good, if it's a good song with like good whatever, then you should listen to it in Arabic. Especially because like Hebrew, you don't want to disgrace the language.
Okay, good. So there are 2 points. The first one was what you said, that it doesn't matter what the language is in, it matters what the content is. And good content songs are good no matter what language. Bad content songs are bad no matter what language. And then the last part is if you have a choice between listening to a song of bad content in Hebrew or in another language, then
In another language, you know,
yeah, if you listen to a Hebrew one, then that's like degrading or disgraceful to the Hebrew language. Yeah. Okay. Then did you get a chance to ask your dad a question or not yet?
Yeah,
you did? Oh yeah. Well, so the question was, tell me the way you asked the question, because I forgot what we ended up on.
I told him that we were talking about first I think I started off by saying that like what about like teaching your kids false, so to speak, ideas about Hashem in order to get that like so they could come up with a basis in order to develop.
So you're asking starting just about the teaching, not about the music.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
And
that's a good
about
place to start.
teaching. So then I said, could you only teach through Sukkim, which like say physical
Yeah.
ideas, or like could you make up
Okay, great way to ask the question. Good.
And he said that he thinks like you should only use Sukkim.
Oh, interesting.
But, you know, like not like quote Sukkim.
Yeah, yeah.
Whatever. But like for example, I think he said that the Sukkim talk about Hashem. Do they say Hashem smells or Hashem tastes?
So they say, so this is a good point that the Rambam makes. So of the 5 senses, it says Hashem sees, hears, and smells things,
Right.
but doesn't say taste or touch. Yeah. Okay,
so
good.
Through that, he said like, so you should use smell over taste because like only use the ones which the Torah with Tanakh said.
I see. Okay, good. Yeah, yeah. Just to comment on that really quickly, why do you think the Torah would avoid talking about God as touching something or tasting something?
That means he's more active.
What did you say?
It's more of a human feature because then it's a human taste it, and then like that kind of thing like sustains you because like.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, that's a good argument for the tasting. What about touching though?
Touching is also like more of a human thing because it means that he has like a body.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, right. So the thing is like obviously you can only see if you have eyes, you can only hear if you have ears in terms of like normal stuff. But if you take the 5 senses, they do split into 2 categories. Seeing, smelling, and hearing don't involve the imagery of a body coming in contact with another body, but touching and tasting has the imagery of a body coming in contact with another body. So of the 5 senses, those 2 are like too physical for the Torah to use. So the Torah draws a line and only talk about hearing and seeing and smelling, you know? So that's a good example of how like, you know, if we were making analogies about Hashem, we might not even think about which senses are, like we might just say, oh, well, once you're using one of the senses, you could use all of them, you know? So it shows how sensitive the Torah is there. And yeah, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so it says that, like, you don't have to use the words of something to say it in your own words, but use the ones that you
Yeah.
And I asked him about like music, like singing like Hashem's here, Hashem's there,
Yeah.
Hashem's everywhere. I don't think we came to an answer. I think he said he'll think about it.
Okay, yeah. Let me know if he thinks of something. Because I'll tell you what's hard about that one. Okay, to my knowledge, okay, the Torah will not say Hashem is here, Hashem is there, Hashem is everywhere. But what are some things that the Torah says that are close to that?
Yeah,
right.
Everywhere.
Yeah, so it says Maloch kol haaretz kavodo, that the whole world is filled with Hashem's glory. Okay, now it's saying the whole world, right? It's not saying here and there, but it is saying everywhere in a sense, right? Okay, good. So that's the correct understanding, and you're correct to point out that glory, saying the world is filled with Hashem's glory is very different than saying the world is filled with Hashem, right? Like, you know, like your glory means like our recognition of His greatness or like His reputation or whatever, you know, or like one interpretation is, anyone have another? I mean, you said, what did you just say? You gave a good interpretation just now. Well, it means the world is filled with his glory.
That, like, what we do exemplifies Jesus,
Okay, right. So that's good in terms of if you're talking about the human realm. What interpretation could you say where the whole universe is filled with his glory? Because like we're not really
I created it, so it
Ah,
shows off, like,
okay, good. So that's my understanding of the pshat of that is that everything in the universe glorifies Hashem. So the whole universe is filled with his glory. It's not like, for example, an artist where the only thing that shows the artist's glory is the paintings that they make, but nothing, but there are lots of areas without the glory. With Hashem, everything is his artwork, everything is his malacha, so that's good. But if you say Hashem is everywhere, that's a very different idea, Another time, where in Torah do we say stuff like Hashem is here? Yeah, right. So we say that Hashem is v'asili mikdash v'shachanti b'socham, is make for me a mikdash and I will dwell among you. Okay, and so it takes a certain level of understanding to realize that Hashem is not in the mikdash. In fact, even in that phrase, v'asili mikdash v'shachanti b'socham, make me a mikdash and I will dwell among you, them. Which what doesn't he say that you would expect? It, right? It doesn't say I will dwell in the mikdash, And then when Shlomo Melech dedicated the mikdash, he says, who can build a house for you? What house could contain you? Like he's trying to emphasize that God is not in the house, But we do speak about Hashem in certain places. Like what happened at Har Sinai? What do we say there? Yeah, God came down onto Har Sinai, right? So like that's I think where the question is like if you said Hashem is here, Hashem is there, Hashem is everywhere, is that a deviation from the mashalim that the Torah uses? Or is it just a different application of the type of mashalim that the Torah does use, And even if you say that, what did it mean that Hashem came down on Har Sinai?
Also,
just hold on one second. Yeah, that was a question. His hashgacha, right? Is like the fact that he produced a voice, that there was fire, So like, if you said, for example, let's say we saw the event of Har Sinai, and you said Hashem came down on the mountain, and you pointed to that. And you realize it means that God is acting upon the mountain. But that's not the way it's said in like when you sing the song Hashem is here, Hashem is there, Hashem is really everywhere. Like when you tell a little kid that, you tell me you guys were Jewish kids. I was never a Jewish kid, but like the kid thinks that like Hashem, like almost like either like an invisible friend or like he's all around. It's not pointing to like a miraculous thing or a hashgach thing. It's like God himself is like everywhere,
I think it's like it's both. I think it's more like that you think that like he is everywhere. Meaning like I remember thinking that like he's like in the sky like, watching over everything.
Right. Yeah. So that's already a different level, right? That's right. Yeah. And like I feel like that would be something that you definitely could say to a kid that God sees everywhere, or God like is watching at all times. Like those are mashalim that the Torah uses, but that's also different. That's talking about God's knowledge being of everything, as opposed to saying God is here and God is there.
It is kind of things. It can be here or there, just having that he doesn't like do anything. He's let's say here in the class, like
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Right. I'm just saying that in one mashal, when you say that God knows everything or is watching everything, you're not putting the emphasis on his location. You're putting the emphasis on his awareness or his knowledge.
When we were little, we would be like, "Oh, you don't want to go sit on Hashem."
Yeah, and that's what I was wondering, right?
Like particles in the air.
Yeah, right. Like, do you
Like
how many little kids think like if you really took this idea seriously, so then Hashem's in the toilet when you flush it, like how soon?
You felt like he was just like above, like just
Yeah,
floating up
above
in the
it.
air.
Yeah, right.
Sky, like just in the room
Hashem's
somewhere.
next to me, like.
No.
Yeah, like, yeah, somewhere.
Yeah, see that's what I would have imagined. It's like an imaginary friend type thing, like or like a spirit or like a ghost that's like all like.
Like a ghost that's always with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, same. I remember
So weird
that
that they develop. When you think about how that developed.
I mean, I don't think I bought it as a kid, but
I bought it.
I didn't.
Wait, hold on, guys. Sorry, I can't hear Dina.
Like, no matter, like where you are in the world, it's everywhere. So if you need help or like whatever, you can always just like stop and ask for it.
Okay, good. So there's another thing we say every day that's close to that. What do we say to emphasize that Hashem is close to us when we want to call out to him? Yeah. Sorry. We say that one more time.
I was saying something else.
Oh yeah. That's fine because that's emphasizing that he's. That's emphasizing call Hashem when he is close. That's emphasizing. We did that early in the year, right? Is a seriously made tshuva, right? But what do we say in Ashrei? Yeah. Right, it's hard to quote it out. Karav Hashem l'chol kora'av. Hashem is close to all who called him. L'chol asher yikra'uhu be'emes. All who call out to him in truth. Right. So like this is an example of like let's say you want to teach the kid that he can call out to Hashem whenever he wants. So then like that would be, I think, a more appropriate pasuk to use because that's explicitly saying the idea. Like in other words, you don't need to go beyond that idea and say, well, God is everywhere in order to say that God will respond no matter where you are, you know?
So I feel like I still remember in like a room and like I'm really not kidding.
Environmental cues.
I remember like thinking that it's just like everywhere and like not that he's like sitting next to me or anything. Like say they never told us that he's like right here. I don't think.
Right, but you see from the fact that Ayala did think that like no, I'm saying, but you.
We were in the same class.
but you see how like it can lend itself to that, even if you yourself didn't think that.
To
Yeah.
your point, like you're trying to say that, even if you're not saying it.
Yeah. Right.
Up, down.
Yeah.
If you
Right.
say everywhere, if you go
Yeah.
up, down, side, right, that means it's everywhere. Like, yeah, it's not like here. It's like everywhere.
Yeah. Right.
Now we're in the room, not like.
No, I don't know.
Interesting. See, but this is a good discussion because like different people got different like vibes from that way of saying stuff, you know. But the other thing also is like I feel like if it is easy to just through a minor change to make the same message there, then why do you need to risk going to something distorting? For example, like what's the idea of one of the ideas of shaking the lulav in the four directions? Yeah, is that Hashem is king over the entire earth in the four directions. Now, exactly right. Now that's the thing is like if you have a choice between saying Hashem is everywhere or Hashem rules everything, the main point you're trying to make when you say Hashem is everywhere is that his rulership is absolute, is the fact that he can respond to you no matter where you're at, the fact that he's aware of everything. So like just say those things. Like why go the extra step, you know, that's beyond what the Torah itself says. What was that?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So he controls there, and there.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I've heard that some people have made like alternate versions of the song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We started kindergarten. Yeah, started new
Yeah. Yeah. So it's an interesting question. It's tough thing to write children's songs, but but you see from these discussions and from all of our discussions about children's songs, what? Yeah, right. But you see these songs stick with you and like influence your perception. So it's a big thing, a big deal to make these songs that you're targeting at people at such an early age, you know? Okay, so then we read at the end yesterday about how the Rambam holds that all music is usher to listen to now. Okay, except, what was that?
While you drink wine.
Well, so the wine would be, so music with instruments is usher at all times. And then without music, then like vocal songs are usher over wine, right? Now I want to comment on something. Ayala asked a question, not actually a question, you like had an exclamation yesterday of like asking if like our behavior should change based on any of this. I forgot exactly what point it was on, but is that accurate characterization?
Yeah, based on the entire.
Yeah, right. So I just wanted to remind you, first of all, that this is not practical halacha, but secondly, remember that like, when it comes to halacha, we say elu ve'elu divrei elokim chaim, and that there are that, as long as it's a legitimate halachic opinion, then there are different valid answers. And like, you don't have to feel that because the Rambam holds that this is usher, that you're doing anything wrong if you poskin differently. And like I said, most of the world poskins differently on this, thank God. Okay, right? All right. So now the last thing that we didn't read was this letter from the Rambam, Shilas and Chuvas. Someone asked him a question. And I want to brace yourself for this because this is very extreme sounding. Okay, so we'll try to like understand it as we go, but this is very extreme sounding. All right, who wants to start us off today? Okay, go ahead, Emily.
The answer is obvious.
So the question is.
Question from Aleppo. Is it permissible to listen to music with local Arabic songs?
Yeah, I translated this as literally as I could. I don't know why it's to listen to music with local Arabic songs. I don't know why it doesn't say just listen to Arabic songs.
Like listen to Arabic songs?
Yeah, Arabic songs. Yeah. Aleppo is where, which country? Syria, yes. Aleppo is where the Syrian Jews lived for like 2,000 years. It's a city, yeah. Yeah, very, very old city. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, the answer is obvious. Namely, that music and songs are entirely and essentially prohibited, even without lyrics, as Chazal said, "The ear that hears music should be torn off."
Yeah, now that's an example of something where Chazal used hyperbole, right? Like they don't literally mean that if you listen to music, your ear should be torn off, but it's expressing extreme disapproval. Okay.
Okay. The Talmud has already explained that there is no difference between hearing a song or a melody on instruments or producing pleasant melodies without words. Rather, any form of music that brings joy and emotion to the soul is prohibited, as Chazal stated. They supported their words with the prophet's prohibition, "Do not rejoice as thou like the rejoicing of the nation."
Okay, so far he's giving us one little insight. Why is music usher? Oh, two reasons. Sorry, that's the second reason. Okay, right.
It's like a physical pleasure.
Yeah, it is a. I mean, he doesn't put the emphasis on physical. You are right, but because it brings joy to the soul, right? And remember, in the context, it's not that the Torah is anti-joy, but why is the Torah against joy in the with music here, based on what we learned yesterday? Because once we have the base mikdash, we can't experience full joy, right? That's why we break the glass. That's why we have the ashes on the chazan's head. So like, this is it's like the Torah does want us to put a cap at our joy level, and music is such a joy-inducing thing that the Rabbanan prohibited all of it. Okay, all right.
This might be very off, but how many sects, I guess, of Judaism and everything, like hold by the whole putting ashes on the husband's head before the
That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, it was a thing that was universal, and then I guess people dropped it. So I don't know which ones it remains in. I'm not sure. Yeah, I mean, I'd say I've seen it at about like half the weddings I've been to, but like I don't know where all the different people come from. Yeah. Okay. Go on.
Okay. The reason for this is very clear. For it is necessary to subdue and hold back this appetite.
Yeah. What's that word there? Yeah, appetitive. Yeah, like, but it comes from the same word as appetite. So this is what Ayala was saying. Okay, is that it's a physical, psychological type of pleasure that music gives you. Okay.
Oh, I remember we put, okay. Appetitive faculty, and to restrain it was a brittle.
What is a bridle?
Oh, bridle. Muzzle.
It's like a muzzle, right? It's like for an animal. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rather than activate it and enliven it. And we don't pay attention to the rare individual who is the exception to this rule. For there are a few like him, namely a person for whom music brings him to safeguard his soul and efficiently harness his emotional energy for intellectual apprehension or for channeling it towards divine matters. The Torah's laws were only written based on the majority in the average case, for the sages spoke about it.
Okay, so he's addressing a counter argument you might make. So he's saying that so I'll say you have, and you tell me what the counter argument he's addressing is. So first he said, music brings joy to the soul, and like that's rejoicing like the other nations, and that's a bad kind of joy. So now he's addressing an argument. You might say, but Rambam, and what are you going to say?
Some people improve their.
Yeah, some people listen to music to improve their soul. Like they'll listen to like Jewish music, right? With psukim that are good, or they'll listen to like songs about virtues and stuff. So he's saying, Rambam, well, what about that? And what's the Rambam's response?
Yeah.
Most people are not like that, and therefore, oh, good, yeah, low plug, right? Low plug is a principle that means what? It is a type of not applicable, but
we don't hold by it because not a lot of people do it, right?
close.
There's no difference.
There's no differentiation. Yeah, low plug means like when Chazal make their laws, they don't say that they make it based on the majority. So what's a common example of low plug? Like let's say, for example, like in the halachos that people call like shomer negia, right? That's not the actual name of the halachos, but like hugging and kissing certain people is usher. So let's say you're a type of person who just does not have any sort of like interest in hugging and kissing. Halacha doesn't say, oh, well, for you, it's okay. Like, no, like the action itself is usher, even though there are individuals who are not, there's no difference. Yeah, I mean, they apply like across the board. Okay, no exceptions. Okay, you want to do one more? Go ahead.
Sure. The prophets have already explained to us in their denigration.
Yeah.
Of the utilizing musical instruments as a means of religious worship by hearing them in their statements. Woe to those who sing along to the tune of the lute considering themselves like David with their musical instruments. We've already explained in our commentary to Avos that there is no difference between Arabic lyrics and Hebrew lyrics. And the only criteria.
Criterion, yeah. Do you know what the difference between criterion and criteria is?
Oh, it's plural?
Yeah,
Or
criteria is plural, criterion is singular.
for their being prohibited or permitted is the content contained in.
Yeah, so he's basically like, don't think that you're David him out here. Okay, like go easy, buddy. Okay, yeah. All right. Who wants to read next? And this is now, all right, this is the part that I have a hard time with. Okay, so who wants to read this difficult part? Yeah, I'll go ahead.
In truth, it is prohibited to say to any foolish matter, even if it is said without song. If it is accompanied by instruments, then there are 3 prohibitions. First, the prohibition of hearing a foolish or inappropriate matter, the prohibition of listening to song, namely vocal singing, and the prohibition of listening to instrumental music. And this is in a place of drinking wine. And if this is in a place of drinking wine, then there's a 4th prohibition, namely there are harp and
lyre is a type of musical instrument.
And drum and flute and wine at their drinking party. And if the singer is a woman, then there is a 5th prohibition, as the sages said, the voice of a woman is erba, and even more.
Yeah. Okay. Now, what's difficult about this, or what do you find difficult? I found one thing especially difficult here.
The voice of a woman.
I mean, yeah, I have a small difficulty, but I don't think it's what you're talking about.
Okay. What's the small difficulty?
But y'all said the voice of a woman is even more something.
Yeah, that's weird, right? Yeah, because we hold that it's if she's singing, but we don't hold that like it's usher to listen to women talk. Yeah, yeah. That.
Have to write all 3 percent like permission is listening to music, but oh, that's.
Yeah.
Ooh.
What you don't know?
I thought you were making like when it says the voice of a woman is Araba, I was thinking of singing. I wasn't just thinking of.
Yeah, right. But the even more so sounds. Yeah,
sound like
yeah. Yeah, I mean that's what it sounds like he's saying, and I just have never heard anyone say that. You know, like that's I don't know what he means by that. But I think there's another problem that's in the first half of that paragraph. No, because that he's given good proofs for, right? That like that Chazal prohibited instrumental music after the base of Mikdash was destroyed.
The prohibition. Oh, if it is accompanied by instruments, there's 3 prohibitions. So why does it say the prohibition of listening to instrumental music? Because then the voice like the 3rd one literally matches exactly what it said about like he's explaining 3 prohibitions when music is accompanied with instruments.
No. He I see what you're saying. Oh, that's no. He's saying if it is accompanied by instruments, then there are 3, right? So there's listening to a foolish matter, listening to song, meaning just the vocals, and then the musical instruments is the 3rd one. And then if it's with wine, then there's 4th, and if it's women, there's a 5th. I have a difficulty with the first one. Look how he starts out. In truth, it is prohibited to listen to any foolish matter, even if it is said without song. If it is accompanied by instruments, then there are 3 prohibitions. 1, the prohibition of hearing a foolish or inappropriate matter. Who says it's usher to hear a foolish matter?
He did.
No. What did he say about a foolish matter? In what we read yesterday. Objectionable, right? So the fact that he uses the word usher to hear something foolish, I think that's like going a little too far, right? Like if he said it's objectionable to hear something foolish, then I'd understand that. But don't say it's usher. You know, what isser is it to listen to something foolish, you know? So I think you have to say, I think there's only one answer to the question. What was that? No, because even if it were derech hayachi, he wouldn't say usher, because usher is like a derech ha'am term. Yeah, I mean, that's a good approach, but I don't think it works out just because of the word usher. I think there's a way to interpret it where it would be usher. So how would you interpret foolish?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to say it's some sort of foolish prohibited content. Like, for example, let's say like it is, you know, like he said, nivel peh, of like sexually inappropriate talk, you know, that's something that I think you can call both foolish and prohibited, you know? So he has to be talking about that. I don't think he, like, what's a silly song? Like a little kid's like, you know, like, what was it? Okay, sure, yeah, right, Baby Shark, right? Like, you know, like I don't think he's gonna say that that's usher. You know, I think it has to be something that he's talking about, like songs that have prohibited content, and he's calling the prohibited content foolish because it's like bad values or whatever, you know? Okay, all right, so then he ends off, who, are you reading? Go ahead.
Sure. The truth has been clarified by proof, namely that our purpose is to be a holy nation in which no person engages in any action or speech except that which constitute human.
I'm not laughing here. I'm laughing at the standards he's saying.
Very extreme.
Yes.
Or that which brings one to perfection. Not that we should arouse the faculties which impede all good. Not that we should abandon ourselves to debauchery.
Debauchery is like wildness, yeah.
And
Frivolity is like not taking things seriously.
frivolity. We have already explained this sufficiently in the last section of the Morah with proofs for those who are on.
Yeah, now is this Derech Am or Derech Yachid?
Yeah.
This is definitely Derech Yachid, right? Is that we have to be a holy nation where no one engages in any action or speech except that which contributes to human perfection, right? Like that's a very high level. That's not for most of us. Okay, and then he ends off. Go ahead.
That which the Gonim said about singing words of song and praise, like the Bahag wrote, God forbid that there should be secular songs among them. This view has never been heard in Israel, neither from a Goan nor from an ordinary person. I am astounded by your statement that they are in the company of those who are kosher. According to my mind, those who are kosher are not to be found in places characterized by drinking intoxicating beverages. I've already explained this sufficiently in the Morah. All the more so they are not kosher if they add listening to music to their drinking parties.
Peace, Moshe. Peace out. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, his name
This is a letter.
Moshe.
Yeah, Rambam is Moshe. Yeah, yeah. So I don't know exactly what the Bahag thing he's referring to here. I guess this guy was the guy who asked him the question was claiming that there are like Onim and sages who like say that this type of music is okay, but I'm not exactly sure what he was referring to here. So the upshot of all this is that the Rambam really holds that like he really cares about the content of music, right? And he is very machmir on there not being music at all after the Beis Mikdash because it's so joy-inducing, and we can't have full joy after the Beis Mikdash. You know, now those who do we paskin like?
Everyone else?
Yeah, but what does the other position hold though? That's an interesting opinion. So I actually did not research this ahead of time, but I did ask this as a shaila once, not to someone from my yeshiva, but I asked a shaila. This is like when I was still like becoming Jewish, and the posek I asked said that they only say that it's usher to listen to music in the context of a wine party. Like they instead of saying like the Rambam said that at the wine party, that's where it's usher to have just vocal music. Others hold that like that like, you know, it's that the entire prohibition is like confined to like that, which is like a much more narrow case, you know.
Because you're indulging into very pleasurable, or because another reason?
I think because at that point, it kind of gets to the same place that Ayala was saying, which is that it's not that they hold that like there's a certain level of joy that music brings you. But if you do that in the context of a drinking party, that becomes inappropriate. Because that's like is that what you mean by the two types of pleasures of the drinking? Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Again, I haven't revisited the source inside in a while, so I can't say who said it, but that's the only other answer I heard.
And even in that case, it's prohibited things that are prohibited.
Yes. What's the alternative?
Like if you're listening, if you're in every other context besides for a drinking party, you can listen to music.
According to that opinion, yeah.
Then when you're listening to music outside the context of drinking, it can't be music that's
Oh, correct. Yeah, I mean, do they still hold by prohibited categories of music? Yes, but that would be based on the content, not based on just the joy. Yeah. Okay, so that's that. And if I find other sources, I'll share them. But that's all I got for the Rambam. Okay, so let's start off with Yala's question on the Upshirin. Right, there's a question. What's the deal with Upshirin? Yeah. So what is Upshirin factually? But to do what? Or no, like what's the? Yeah. Okay, good. Actually, I'm going to stop recording because we don't record question and answer. Stop recording.